You're listening to the Woman Angler and Adventure podcast, part of the Waypoint Outdoor Collective.
Everybody wants to beat up the bank, but that's not really where the fish are most of the time. You got to kind of go to the deeper holes or the spots where they have less pressure so that you will get that bite. She's like thinking, throwing out in the middle of nowhere. But I'm like, they're out there. Just trust me. So she made a cast out there and she felt a bite. So she sets her hook and then the fight was on. She's just like fighting this fish and it's rip and drag. And she's just like, the look on her face is like pure like excitement, maybe a little fear, like what's going to happen? Am I going to lose it? And I'm just coaching her through it. And she brings this nice bass in. It was, I think it was like close to 6 pounds or something. Wow.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Katie Jackson, welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I want to let you know that this is very special because we have my co-host Barb Carey on the line with us for this interview. Due to scheduling and distance and all that doesn't happen super often. So this is going to be a fun conversation. And I had the pleasure to meet you in person at the Bassmaster Classic in Knoxville. I was just kind of roaming around the expo and I saw you behind a booth for a lure that caught my attention, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But what was really cool is we were talking, you mentioned that you had just recently posted in the Woman Angler and Adventure Facebook group. And I immediately remembered your post because it was of this really cool YouTube video you did called Caroline Conquers Bienville, featuring this 14-year-old girl that you had guided. And I commented, it was a super cool video and thanked you for making an impact and for making great memories. And Barb, you commented as well. You said, excellent video and great fishing. This is what the Woman Angler and Adventure is all about. Thanks for sharing. So it's only fitting we're able to have you as a guest on the show. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I really enjoyed meeting you at Knoxville. That was a really fun event as well. And, I love your Facebook page. I look at it often, and it's great to see other female people in the sport and just out there doing their thing, doing what they love to do and passing it on to future generations as well. And I believe that's very important for the industry and for women in general. And it's great that you have that page for them to come together and see everything that we can do.
Yeah, it's been super fun for us to see just women all over the country. There's even been some internationally that have posted, and it's just cool to see like what everyone's doing in different regions. And you're down in Florida. We have a few down in your area, so that's really cool for us to kind of see what fishing's like down there. I'm in Nashville, Barb's up in Wisconsin, so it's quite different in different parts of the country.
Yeah, and I must say I'm a little jealous of you being in Nashville. I love Tennessee. I love the lakes and the whole river system that's in Tennessee. 2013, I qualified for the FLW All-American, and I was the second woman ever to fish it. And that year it was in Chattanooga, and I got to fish on Lake Nickajack for that. And that was just such a wonderful experience and such a beautiful area. It's just so gorgeous up there. Florida's pretty, but you have a different kind of pretty, and I love it up there.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I actually just fished Nickajack for the first time a few weeks ago. We had my team Nashville Bassmasters first tournament of the year was on Nickajack, and the fishing was really hard that day. I don't know how it was for you, but we ended up getting first place though. So that was
great.
That was super fun. And one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because you're in Florida and I'd never seen this before, but on Nickajack, we were looking in the live well, we had 3 fish in there, and 1 or 2 of them, I can't remember, but to see them side by side, the guy I was fishing with pointed out the one was a Florida strain of largemouth, which I guess I don't know a whole lot about, the different types, but the difference between just, the normal one that we see around here and the Florida strain was like night and day as far as the markings go. It was very pretty. Is that the kind that you have in your area, or?
Yeah, my area, I have, they're the black bass, the Florida strain largemouth bass. They're very picky when weather systems come through. From my understanding, they tend to be a little bit more tight-lipped with cold fronts and stuff like that. They're a little bit more finicky, but they're definitely grow quick down here. All the fertile water that we have. And it's just, they're fun to catch. I don't have to tell you that. But I love up there how you have like spotted bass and smallmouth bass. And so you can catch a wide variety of bass just from one fishery, where down here it's pretty much the largemouth bass. And then in my area particularly, I have a bass called the Swanee bass. They are similar to like a smallmouth, where they like current, they like crawfish. They're a little bit more aggressive. They don't grow as big. Like a 3-pound Swanee bass is really good. I think the record is like 3.8 or something like that, something in the 3-pound range. So, but they are pretty much exclusive to like 2 river systems in the state of Florida and North Florida particularly. So I do have the pleasure of having one of those rivers about 15 minutes down the road from me. And those are a lot of fun to catch. They're beautiful turquoise color, and they're just really pretty fun fish. But that's what I have down here. I have to go up north to really try to get different species of bass. So that's really neat for you to have that all in one live well. Yeah,
well, Barb, I think you're planning a trip down here at some point. You're going to pass through Nashville and you're going on to Florida from there, aren't you? Isn't that kind of the plan?
Yeah, that's kind of the plan. I'm, it has such a unique fishery down there, and I'm going to go down and scope out possibly a future trip to bring women down to fish Florida. So probably this fall, late October, early November, I'll be headed down there. And, the size of the bass they get down there is amazing. I mean, with this cold water we have in the north, we just don't get them to get to be the size that I see in some of your pictures, Katie, some pretty big monsters down there you're getting.
Yeah, there are. When you come down, let me know for sure. Where I guide is a place called Bienville Plantation, and it's in White Springs. It's more North Florida. But if you get to be around this area, I'll take you out there and you can scope out everything we have, because it's a perfect setup for bringing groups down and events. There's like a main lodge that has a restaurant where a chef comes in and caters breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom cabins. Each bedroom has 2 double beds, so it can house 10 people per cabin, and you have a common living and kitchen area. The decor was actually done by a very well-known company in Tennessee that does log cabins. So they brought them down many moons ago now and built these cabins. So they have like authentic rustic feel, and all the cabins are situated on a lake. So you have beautiful water views and just in the middle of pine trees, and there's 13 different lakes we have there, over 70 guides, active guides on staff. So we take people out and take them fishing, typically 2 people per boat. And we can take a morning trip, half-day trip, sometimes, and go in for lunch, and then they may have a meeting or do some other activity in the afternoon. They also have skeet shooting. We do the self-defense and weapons training classes. We cater to all women's classes as well. There's kayaking now. We're getting airboat ride tours up there for a good friend of mine, All-American Airboats, that he was a FLW Tour Pro for a while. And so it's just a great place to kind of get away, get off the beaten path, go fishing, have outdoor adventures, camaraderie amongst each other. And you can do classes and lessons on things too in the main lodge. And there's a pro shop to explore different bait and tackle options. It's all artificial lures. It's all catch and release, but there's crappie and bluegill. You'll see shiners everywhere and shad. And then there's, of course, the bass, which is our main catch that we try to do. And we grow really big trophy bass there. It's very well known for trophy bass, which everybody comes to try to get. So it's a very neat place, and I'll be happy to take you out when you come to Florida and show you what it's all about, and maybe plan something, good destination for all the ladies to go and have some fun.
Oh, that sounds great. How did you get started in fishing and guiding?
I grew up fishing saltwater, which I contribute to my terrible hook set. So I grew up fishing that with my family, and then went to college, and then got into tournament fishing. A friend of mine's dad moved down from Illinois, and he was a tournament fisherman, and started teaching me and some friends about that. And then that led to joining some open tournaments at ramps, at flyers that would be on the truck window. And then that got into doing trails. And I loved the FLW BFL that I fished for many years. And that led me to qualifying for the All-American. And then I had seen a post at Bienville, because it's a private place and pretty expensive to fish, really, usually for memberships, lake leases and stuff like that. So I had never been there before, and I seen that they were doing a small fish tournament open to the public. And I asked my husband for that for Christmas. I was like, please. I was like, I know how to catch small fish. We have a chance. So we joined it, and we got second place. We had 80-something fish total, because we were keeping all fish that were 16 inches and under, and only got beat by a guide that was already a guide there, him and his wife, actually. And then when we were there, just dropped the line, like, would you like a female fishing guide or whatever? These are my credentials. This is our boat. We'd love to be a part of this place. And 3 weeks later, they gave us a call back. They really were just going to hire me, but a friend of ours that worked there was like, well, you should hire her and her husband probably. So my husband got a job there too as a fishing guide. And you have to take a lake training, because there's one lake in particular that's kind of like a water maze. It's so neat. They're reclaimed phosphate mines. So the way they were dug and the depths and the contours of these lakes are unlike anything in Florida. So it's very unique. And so at past the lake guiding test, you have to be able to maneuver these lakes without any maps or, graphs or anything like that. And not only know the ways to get around, but the fastest routes in case of emergencies and things of that nature. So passed my lake test and just been on them ever since. And it's amazing. I'm their only female fishing guide, but it's a lot of fun. And it took a little earning some respect for some of these other guys at first, because it's just a male-dominated industry, and that's the way it goes sometimes. But once my guests started beating everybody else, they're like, okay, this girl's really here to fish. She knows what she's doing. And it was actually better to earn their respect, I think, because now it's just a bond that's really cool, and I love it.
Well, how long ago was that? When did you start as a guide there?
About 4 years ago.
Okay. You mentioned, I think, when I met you in Knoxville, that you had a first something to do with the All-American qualifier. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was the second woman ever to fish it, and really kind of like the first one to directly qualify the way it went down, but considered the second woman ever to fish the All-American, yes.
That's awesome.
And I think no one has since me in 2013, I believe. Wow. So we need to get more ladies out there.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's our goal. That's our goal.
So I want to talk about this lure that caught my eye and why I went over to the booth that you were at, which by the way, the classic was an awesome experience. I don't know if you'd been before, and the expo itself was huge. It was like in 2 different buildings. On one of the buildings, I think, had 3 levels. And so I was just kind of overwhelmed wandering around and looking for different companies. And obviously I'm kind of drawn if I see a female behind the booth because I'm like, oh, there might be a story there or whatever. And I went over and you were showing me this lure that was really interesting. Barb, I was telling you about it the other day, something called the Eco Popper. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. And yeah, that was my first classic too. So I was very excited to be there, and it was a lot to look at. I tried to get some breaks to just run around as quick as I could. And I probably looked like a crazy lady because I'd just be like darting as fast as I could to get as much in as possible, like looking around and like just running. But it was fantastic. And it was a pleasure to meet you. The Eco Popper is very interesting. I've been a beta tester with them for going on 3 years now. And we have the product to market, so it is available for people to buy. And it is a topwater fishing lure, so it's like a popper. You fish it like you would normally fish a popper. And it has a HD camera built right into the back of it that has like 180-degree field of view. And the important thing about this fishing lure, because it is the first of its kind, is that it can actually record and you can view your fishing footage in real time. So while you're using it, you can actually see what's going on from the lure's perspective. Most underwater cameras are like recorded to a chip or something like that, where you have to just view it when you get home and put it in your computer. So this automatically Wi-Fi's it straight to your smart device, any phone or tablet or iPad. Now, Lowrance graphs can pick it up as well. Or, any graph with Wi-Fi, really. But you can view it straight on your graph like you would looking down at it normally. And you can fish this lure and see what's going on in the water. You can see the bait fish. You can see the vegetation or rocks. And you can record real-time strike footage and fight footage all the way back to the boat. So it's really neat. It has given me a lot of advantage, especially in the spring, bed fishing. And even if I take the hooks off of it and kind of use it as like a scouting bait, I'll just throw it out there and kind of slowly reel it back. And now I know, okay, well, there's eelgrass here, there's hydrilla here. This is like a line between, because bass like to sit on the transition spots, or there's a rock pile here with some bait on it, or bluegill bed over here. There's like, you can kind of just use it to be your eyes in the water, so to say. And as a bonus, it'll catch fish. And then it's great for like my YouTube channel and stuff to be able to have that footage to incorporate into my videos. So it kind of gives it a little bit of an edge that way. But kids love it because they just, like looking at an iPad anyway, and you can now have them at least outside on the computer. So it's one step for progress there. But it's just really neat. It's really not that big. And a lot of northern fish love it, like the walleye and stuff. And then a lot of saltwater fish really love it too. It comes in its own little tackle box that has saltwater hooks and freshwater hooks. You basically download the Eco Popper app when you get the lure. You watch a quick instructional video, and literally it's like 3 clicks and your lure is up and running. So it's super easy to use. And it's really neat. Very innovative for sure.
So does it have a rechargeable battery?
Yeah, it has a rechargeable battery with a magnetic charger, and it comes with that as well. And it takes about an hour to recharge, and you have about an hour to 80 minutes of usage per charge. And then I just have one of the same port that you have to plug a cell phone wire, whatever, USB. So you plug that. I have a charger in my boat, so I'll just put it back on charge in my boat and fish around a little while. And when it's charged up more, I'll run it again. So it is super cool. And it also has sensors that tell you water temperature, salinity, and they're working on oxygen levels. And then the cool thing about that is, since it's a global thing, because it's actually a company that's not originally from America, so it's pretty popular in like Spain and Europe as well. And what they can do is the information about the water conditions goes back to their computer, I guess, whatever. I'm not technical in that way, but they can gather that data and actually monitor water temperature from around the world, and then they can put together data that shows warming trends and things like that of the oceans and stuff. So it in order for scientists to do that, it takes a lot for people to go out there, collect water samples, enter the data, have one like software program that collects all this data to be able to really communicate what's going on around the world. And this is something that can do that just from a fishing lure and for the users using the fishing lure all over the world. So it's really neat.
Barb, you had a question that I think a lot of people ask, and I ask this too. Like, it's fairly expensive. You don't want to take a chance of losing it. Can you tell us a little bit about how you can combat that from happening?
Sure. That is probably the most asked question, and for good reason. Nobody wants to lose, and I don't want to lose my $18 Whopper Plopper. So, and typically what I do, and I've never lost one, but I throw it on 65-pound braided line, which I do my topwater anyway, usually. And so basically I'll do that. A lot of the saltwater people, they'll tie like a little wire leader to it for the more toothy fish that they're catching on it. And I've had gators chomping on it to test the durability, and I haven't lost one yet. I've thrown it into trees, gotten some really good pictures of squirrels. So it's really durable. I'm not saying you can't lose it, but if you treat it right, you shouldn't. If you throw it on the heavy braided line, you check your line for nicks if you catch a fish, or if you get it into some trees, you just make sure your line is not frayed at all, and you just fish it on a 7-foot heavy action fast tip rod. And I just chuck it out there. It has a casting distance of like 90 feet, which is farther than a lot of people can cast in general. And I haven't lost one on the braided line. So that's definitely my recommendation, to not throw it on anything less than that braided line.
So do you have some photos of like inside of a fish's mouth when it's chomping on it?
I do. I have some video footage, and I have like a picture of gator's tonsils.
Oh, wow.
So there's some videos on how to use it on my YouTube channel, Fishing Vixen, Katie Jackson. I have videos on how to link it up to graphs and see what you're fishing straight on the screen from your graph. And I have videos on we call it the mothership technique, and it's where you tie like a leader, basically 1.5 feet or so, to the back eye where the hook normally goes. You take off that back hook, tie the leader on, and I've had the most success on like a weightless trick worm or Cinco, or like a crankbait, little 1.5 square bill or something, and slow roll the eco popper back to you, and that allows the bait to kind of swim behind it. Or if you're doing a weightless worm, I'll just like move it a little and let it sit and sink down, and you'll still get the strike footage of the fish coming up from a lure tied on to the eco popper. And the good thing about the eco popper is it still looks like a lure. It's not just like some big weird looking camera, so it doesn't startle the fish as much as some of these other underwater cameras do. It's more natural looking, so they'll tend to still come up and grab these other lures if they're not hitting top water, and it makes for some neat footage as well.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I recently posted a bunch of pictures. I take footage in Lake Michigan salmon fishing, but I'll run those cameras like, deep in the water column, like, 40 feet down. So, but, to have the advantage to see it real time, I don't know what I'm seeing until I get home, so you can't make any adjustments. So that's really a good benefit of that camera you're talking about.
Exactly. And it is only topwater because of the Wi-Fi capabilities. The antenna has to be able to have the range to your smart device, but they do have a product that's in the making. They already have the patents for it, to do a separate underwater camera that's kind of still related to the eco popper. It might have like some kind of wire from the eco popper down to the camera that runs deeper, but then it transmits Wi-Fi from the antenna of the Eco Popper back to your smart device. So it's still wireless from there, and you can still view real time. That's something that will be about a year or two down the road probably, but it is in their future plans to have something like that too. So it will be like a benefit to be able to still own this Eco Popper and have it have additional things in the future that'll be helpful for fishing. Plus that the capabilities it has now that you can do any kind of updates for stuff that they come up with, and you won't have to buy a new device. You just do an update like you do updates on the apps on your phone now, and you will have the benefits of the future things that they're able to implement with it as well. So it's really interesting. I love the innovative side of it. I love the real-time footage, like you said, and it's just super cool to cast out there. And then you see like a fish comes right into the field. I'm like, I'll fish it with my husband, and I'll be looking at it while he's kind of casting it, and I'll be like, wait, it's right there. I'll be like, oh, there's bluegill here and stuff like that. And sometimes he'll be using that, and then I'll throw something else around it and be catching some fish. It's fun, and it's really fun for the whole family. So it's really neat. And I believe you can get it now on Walmart. It's in some Walmart stores, but Walmart.com is a place you can get it. I know we're into some Best Buys, but you can always go to econet.com. That's ECONET.com, and find it there. You'll see all their videos there too of people fishing with it around the world, and look it up. It's really neat.
I stood there for quite some time, kind of on the fence if I should spend the money to get it. I was there, and I came back later because I was only at the expo one day. Unfortunately, I had to get back to Nashville, so I was there Friday. So you can imagine I was really running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to take everything in. But I did come back, and I stood there, and I was like, I just can't spend the money right now, but I wanted it so bad. So, but I'll probably end up with one at some point soon.
Yeah, and they have I believe it's 8 different color combinations. So depending on what you typically fish for or the kind of bait fish that are in your area, I just recommend kind of matching the hatch. I've used a couple different ones. The ones that I've really had the most success on was the one called Blue Strike. It's kind of like a blue on the top and a white on the bottom. Which is just kind of a classic color for me to have done, doing good. Even rattle traps, I like chrome and blue or something like that. So that's been a good one. And the other one that I like a lot is called Perch, and it's more like a bluegill type color with a little bit of red on the belly. Very effective.
We'll put links to that in the show notes. We'll also put a link to your YouTube channel, and people can go check out that video we mentioned earlier, where you were fishing with that 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Can you talk awesome. Talk a little bit about that day, because that just looked like such a neat day.
That was a really fun day. Basically, it was a group of 4 people that came down, and she was the only girl, and her dad, they fished with me, and then her dad's 2 friends fished with my husband, and that's always fun because we're really competitive against each other too. And then when you get a family that's competitive, it's just like, oh yeah, we're going to beat them. Don't even, we got this. So she was fishing me by herself that afternoon, and we were having a really good time, catching a lot of numbers. She was an excellent fisherman. And she doesn't even really fish all that much. And I'm trying to tell her, I'm like, girl, you need to join some kind of fishing club. You need to get into it in high school and get college paid for, whatever you got to do. Because I don't even typically let guests use my equipment that much, just because if something happens, it's on me. But she was so good. I was passing her my rod and reels. And I'm just like, here, throw this. And I was using hers because we were just having fun trying to figure out the bite. And when we kind of dialed it in a little bit better, she made a cast to one area I pointed out. It's kind of like a little pocket, and it has a deep hole in the middle. And I had her cast directly. Everybody wants to beat up the bank a lot of times, and you want to fish what you can see, but that's not really where the fish are most of the time. You got to kind of go to the deeper holes or the spots where they have less pressure so that you will get that bite. And I had her, she's like thinking, throwing out in the middle of nowhere. But I'm like, they're out there. Just trust me. So she made a cast. out there, and she felt a bite, and she's like thinking about it a second, and I see a rod tip. I'm like, set your hook. So she sets her hook, and then the fight was on, and it was a nice fish, and she's just like fighting this fish, and it's rip and drag, and she's just like, the look on her face is like pure like excitement, maybe a little fear, like what's going to happen? Am I going to lose it? And I'm just coaching her through it, and she brings this nice bass in. It was, I think it was like close to 6 pounds or something,
Wow.
but it was her personal best, which is always a good feeling to have your guest, no matter what size it is, catch their personal best. And of course, she beat all the guys that were in her group. So I put it in the live well, called my husband. I'm like, I hope you guys have something good because we're whooping you. And so they are like, where are you at? And I'm like, well, come find me. And I hang up on him. And then sure enough, here he comes like trolling around the corner, and he's like, what do you got? And I'm like, what do you got? So I like made them like, you show me yours first. So they hold up, a couple little 3-pounders or whatever, which are nice fish. But then I was like, I got her back by the live well. I'm like, are you ready? Are you ready? She's like, yeah. So I open the live well, I reach in and I grab its face, and I'm just holding it like right above, right underneath the lid so that they don't see it yet. And I have her reach down and like pull it out, and she's holding it, and she's just got the biggest smile on her face. Like, yeah. And I'm like, that is what we do, girl. That's what we do. And she was awesome. She was such a good fisherman that I was like, man, I want to coach you all the time. Like, I can make you so great. But I hope she really pursues a little bit of fishing because she's really good at it. And as much as she enjoyed it, I know that she'd find a lot of satisfaction in having that be part of her life. So, but I guess she loves the outdoors a lot. She likes to go hunting. She loves the woods. So she's just an outdoors girl. And I am myself, and I grew up that way too. So it's really nice to be able to meet people that, I typically, if I wasn't a guide, I would never meet these people. But because I am, I get to go out there and just be part of these memories that last a lifetime. And it's a really good feeling.
Yeah, you spoiled her now because she's going to think that's fun. So she'll probably be fishing in us life trying to top that fish.
Right. I think she'll be back next year. So then we'll see if we can do one better.
Oh, that's cool. Well, how can people, other than the YouTube channel, which we're going to share on our website, how else can people follow you online?
I have a Facebook page under my name, Katie Jackson, Katie. And then I have an Instagram page, and that one is, I believe, when I originally made my Instagram, I didn't know much about Instagram, and I haven't changed my username, but that username, like the letter K, the number 8, the letter E, and then Kate, Kate 913. That's my Instagram. And then my YouTube is the Fishing Vixen, Katie Jackson. But then if anyone's interested in booking a trip or discovering more about where I guide, which is Bienville Plantation, they can go to bienville.com. That's BIENVILLE. And you can see the pricing sheet there and all the amenities and pictures of the cabins and lodge and food and all of that activities from that website. Or anyone that's interested in anything else or more information, my email is that same K8E Kate913 at gmail.com. And those are pretty much the ways to get a hold of me. Can I talk real quick about one more lure that I really love and makes a big difference for me? So I'm trying to tell some people about it. It's a lure company called Tight Lines UV. And the really neat thing about them is the guy that researched and developed this whole lure type, and they've got many different swim baits or Sinkos, or there's just trick worms. There's all kinds of baits they do. But the key with these baits is that the UV technology, and they're actually, Barb, they're very, very popular up north as well. I'll Facebook some of the pictures and stuff of the northern fish they're catching on these baits. What they do is, he was a night fisherman, and he realized that when he got his lure close to the boat, that the lure would be black in the basically black lights, the UV light that he was using around his boat, and all the bait fish would glow. So he spent a lot of 10 years developing this technology where his baits actually have UV in them so that they glow more natural like fish. Fish actually see in UV light, where UV light hurts our eyes, like we wear sunglasses to protect our eyes from the UV rays. Fish see UV rays. And in the water columns, the light spectrum, UV is still seen at 40 plus feet of water. So people that fish deep water, it's really good because the bait actually to the fish is glowing down there. So they can really see the bait a lot more. And it's made a huge difference in my fishing. So I'm definitely trying to get the word out there to people about their baits. And now they have rattles in a lot of their baits too. Like their swim baits, they put a little rattle in the tail. So that is like the sound and the vibration that the fish feel and stuff. And then the UV light that they see. And then they have what they have called whisker baits. And they put these little whiskers, kind of like on a jig and stuff that you have like the skirts. Well, they put these actually in their soft plastics. So it really gives them a lot of movement and natural looking presentation to really trick these stubborn Florida fish to biting it. So I'd really like people to check out more of them, tightlinesuv.com, or you can get them off of Tackle Warehouse and stuff like that. And they're actually coming into Walmart as we speak. So that's their most recent news, is getting the deal with Walmart. But they are excellent baits. I pretty much, except for a few tried and true baits to me, I pretty much throw Tightlines UV baits exclusively. And it's made a huge difference in the numbers of fish that I'm catching.
Yeah, I'm looking on their website now. They have quite the selection.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff. And I've been with them for about 3 years now as well. And they're excellent. The baits themselves, the pores are clean. You don't really get any messed up baits. And I'll show you a video how you can see them glowing with the UV light. But a lot of northern people love them up there, especially for ice fishing. I have some Facebook friends that are posting pictures pretty much on the daily of all these nice fish they're catching with them, and they swear by them. And I know they've made a difference even in my shallow and kind of clear water. It really makes a difference, letting them look more natural, because any advantage you can get like that in the fishing world, especially if you're throwing something that they haven't really seen much of before, then they're more likely to bite it. If they can see it, they'll bite it.
Yeah, they look good. They even have a walleye bait. So
oh, yeah.
So do you have to charge those with a light or
No, nope. The light rays from the natural sunlight do it all on its own. And like I was saying, the UV light can be seen in deep, deep water, where all the other colors, like the reds and the blues and the greens and so forth, they fall off at different depths of the water in the light spectrum. But the UV can be seen penetrated all the way down. And I think that's probably also why fish naturally see UV light, because they don't need the protection from the UV rays. It's actually part of their nature to see in UV to feed, whereas it hurts our eyes. So I think it's pretty interesting. They don't see like we see. A lot of fishing lures are made for the fishermen, not really the fish. But these ones are actually made for the fish. So it's really cool.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. It was a true pleasure speaking with you and hearing about your story and what you do, and the Eco Popper, which is really exciting. So thanks again for sharing with us today.
You're welcome.